Hey, Luke, I have your test here, so we're going to go over the questions that you missed. You missed 4 of them. So we're going to start with question 3. It says, Lily begins solving the equation, and then there's the equation list there, and it gives her work. How can her partial solution be interpreted? So when we look at this equation, we get all the way down to this last step here, and I'm going to move the writing. I'm going to recopy this down here. So in order for an equation to have infinitely many solutions or infinite solutions, both sides have to be exactly the same. And so on the left-hand side here, we have a minus 4 with the 3x, and on the right-hand side, we have plus 4 with the 3x. So those are not equal. So it's not going to have infinitely many solutions or infinite solutions. And you can see if we were to go one more step by moving the x term to the other side, you can see that's where it cancels out, and we're left with this statement that says -4 equals 4. This is not true. And so because this is not true, this one actually would have no solution. So the correct answer here is that the equation has no solution. Question 4. We've got an equation. He found that it has 2 possible solutions, x equals 5 and x equals -11, which explains whether his solutions are correct. So when we solve absolute value equations, the first thing that we have to do is get that absolute value by itself. So I'm going to kind of switch back to pen, squeeze my pen, work back over here. So we have -2 times the absolute value of 8 minus x minus 6 equals -12. First thing we're going to do is add 6 to both sides. So that's -2 times the absolute value of 8 minus x. -12 plus 6 is -6. We're going to divide both sides by -2. We get that the absolute value of 8 minus x equals 3. And so now we're going to write our 2 separate equations. He is not correct because he made a sign error. So that is the right answer. I'm just looking at what the right answer is. So when we come over here, I'm going to move back over to the left now just because I've run out of room. We're going to write 2 equations. So when we have an absolute value equation, 8 minus x can equal 3. Oops. 8 minus x. 8 minus x can equal 3. And 8 minus x can equal -3, because when the inside of this is equal to 3 or -3, I take the absolute value of 3, I do get 3, and I take the absolute value of -3, I will also get 3. So that's why we set up these 2 equations. I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. We get -x equals -5. Divide both sides by -1, and we get x equals 5. So that solution checks out. Now when we subtract 8 from both sides, -x equals -11. Dividing both sides by -1, again to get rid of that -1 in front of the x, and we get x equals 11. And he got -11. So that must be where the sign error is. We check both of those, we plug both of those back in, they must both work. He's not correct because he made a sign error. So they must be thinking that he had -11 and the answer is actually +11. So maybe his error was here. I'm not sure. Both solutions must not satisfy the equation. That means when you plug them in, you would get a true statement. So the 5 should work. X equals 5 should work when you plug that back in. But when we plug back in -11, it must not work. And I'm going to go ahead and do that for you, because if that's what you did, I want to make sure you understand why it doesn't work. So we're plugging -11 in where x is. Be really careful because there's a subtraction sign. We're subtracting a negative. So all we need to do is evaluate this side. Absolute value is kind of like parentheses, so when we follow order of operations, we do need to clean up everything inside the absolute value. 8 minus -11 is actually 8 plus 11, so that's 19. We're going to take the absolute value of 19 and get 19. So now we have -2 times 19 minus 6. I'm using a parentheses now for multiplication. -2 times 19 is -38. Negative 38 minus 6 is not negative 12. So that solution does not work. So you chose the answer that says he is correct because both solutions satisfy the equation, but x equals negative 11 does not satisfy the equation. And then we saw that when I solved it, we should have gotten 5 and 11. Question 6, which values are in the solution set of the compound inequality? Select 2 options. So when we solve compound inequalities, we can solve them separately. So let me just write them out here. So on the left, I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 4. It's a little bit of a shortcut so that I don't have to distribute first. We get x plus 3 is less than or equal to 0. We're going to subtract 3 from both sides. We get x is less than or equal to negative 3. Or subtract 1 from both sides. 1/4 x is greater than 2. We get rid of this by dividing by 1/4 or multiplying by 4. That will also work. So we get x is greater than 8. I like to put these on a number line so we can see. My solution set number lines, remember, go in numerical order. So I'm talking about all of the values that are less than or equal to negative 3. So this way, or greater than 8. No, that's why. Okay, this is why 8 doesn't work. Because it's just greater than 8, we're not including 8. So if we were to graph this on a number line, we put an open circle at 8, and that tells us we're not actually talking about 8. Everything that's greater than 8 would be in the solution set, and anything that is less than or equal to negative 3. So that or equal to line is why I have a closed circle here, and I have an open circle here because it's just greater than. So we are including negative 3. That's why there's a closed circle. Less than or equal to negative 3. So negative 6 and negative 3 both fit that condition. But again, the reason why 8 doesn't fit that condition is because we are talking about all the values that are greater than 8. And 8 is not greater than 8. And in the last one, it says, Anastasia uses the equation P equals 0.7 times the quantity of RH plus B to estimate the amount of take-home pay, P, for H hours worked at a rate of R dollars per hour and any bonus received, P. What is an equivalent equation solved for H? All right. This is called literal equations. This is probably my algebra students' least favorite lesson of the entire school year because these are tricky. So I'm going to write this equation here. P equals 0.7 times the quantity of RH plus B. What we have to try to do is solve this equation for H. The very first thing you could distribute this 0.7 through the parentheses. I try to discourage students from doing that. Let's just divide both sides by 0.7. I have to get rid of that 0.7 that's out there before I can deal with anything inside the parentheses. So we have P over 0.7 equals RH plus B. Now, just like an equation, let's just make something up, and this may not work out nicely, but we'll do 4, we'll do 8. Okay, so let's say I had something like this. I got a number over here. I got a mess over here. We'll call it a number. 3 times x, I have r times h, and then I'm adding something in the back. I'm adding something in the back. I'm trying to get this h. Just like over here, if I were trying to solve for x, you would tell me to subtract 8 first. I'm just going to write b. You told me to subtract 8 first. So on this equation here, we need to subtract b from both sides. So we get this P over 0.7 minus B, right? Those are not like terms. I can't put those together. And it equals RH. So now I would divide by R because that's multiplication. And when we multiply and divide, it's the entire side getting divided by R. So those r's would cancel out, and we would get h equals p over 0.7 minus b all over r. And you'll notice that they don't have it written like that. They're showing you that this whole side had to be divided by r. So that's why you see it in parentheses. And they're dividing it by r out there off to the side. So it's this one here. Okay, other than that, really pretty well. If you have any other questions specifically about those four or how to retake the test, let me know. I think I might have to give you another attempt. So I will go ahead and do that. I don't think it will stop your coursework. If you want to continue working in the unit you're in now, go back later and retake it. Although the fresher this is in your mind, probably the easier it would be. So let me know if you have any questions. Take care.